Welcome back everybody. Recently I saw this comment on a video where I bought a whole storage someone had been saving for many years. And the comment went, for over 3 years I've had a container full of cobblestone skins which I collected for 2 years in a futile attempt to one day trade up to the legendary Dragon Lore. 535 different items are still waiting. This got the most thumbs up from you guys. Obviously you wanted to see me buy this ancient storage unit full of cobblestone collection items in order to attempt the challenge myself. So I checked out the commenter, Mr. Couple Strike Go Offensive, and managed to get in contact with him. We had a discussion about this storage unit. I offered him about the equivalent price in skins and he agreed. So we hopped in a call. Yo.
Hello, hello. It's very nice to meet you. I mean,
Nice to meet you too. Appreciate you reaching out and leaving that comment on my video.
It's like a dream for me to get the Dragon Lore, but I can't do it right now, and I think that you are the right person.
So you ran a channel with your girlfriend?
Yes.
Right?
I think it's...
The gaming industry isn't just big. It's a colossal $240 billion universe where millions log in.
almost 3 years that we stopped.
Yeah, last video was posted
right?
2 years ago, apparently.
We moved to other city and my girlfriend doesn't have a PC right now. Also, it was very time demanding for us.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Yeah, you know it. I mean,
I
I did try to trade up to Dragon Lore. I think I made like 3 videos about it, and then I stopped. And it's on you right now. It's your job.
I was a bit worried that you'd stop posting because you broke up, but I'm glad that it's like a happy story.
In fact, my girlfriend is in the next room, but she's shy, and also you can hear it. I'm nervous to meet you because we watched the videos together for a long time, and for us, you are one of the biggest YouTubers, like TDM, Jesus, and you and Anomaly, the OGs.
Thank you. You started collecting these items about 3 years ago?
Yes. I collected it for, I don't know, 2 years over.
Do you know how much you paid for all of the skins in the storage unit?
In total, it was about 1,500 euros, something like that.
Yeah, and now it's gone up to about 5,000 euros.
Yeah, it is crazy because in just 2-3 years, it's like tripled the value.
Definitely, it's a sick investment. Congrats.
Nowadays, I think it is maybe better to just trade it for the cash and buy the dealer.
I think it's always been better just to buy the skins. Yeah, that's the sensible choice.
Yeah, but you know, I just want to create it myself.
Definitely.
Just like, yeah, that's my skin.
Yeah, I know how you feel. I waste so much money just for the skin achievements.
It would be awesome if I can join you during the last trade up.
Yeah, hell yeah, let's do that. That sounds fun.
I wish you just best luck and make it, because I mean it was my dream and you are the one guy that is suitable to do it.
Look how many cobblestone items there we got. 535 new items. On top of all of these skins from his storage unit, I also had to buy all of the fillers myself, so I have 747 filler skins to put with all of the skins that he sent me. So in total, over 1,000 skins, and I'm hoping to condense them all down into one singular Dragon Lore. My plan for all of these contracts is basically going to be 50-50s up until the restricted or so quality. I've tried to do all of the math and all of the calculations myself. I couldn't have done it without the help of my own website, Skin Search, and the trade up calculator. Definitely check that out. But we're starting at the consumer grade. And if we set up our contracts like this, it's going to give us, just as planned, 50-50s. Then we're going to move on to the industrial grades. Once again, if we put 5 items in from the cobblestone collection, we're going to get a 50-50. Then we're going to move on to the mil-spec grade, and putting in 3 mil-specs from the cobblestone is going to give us around a 50-50, maybe slightly under. And then last but not least, fingers crossed that our trade-ups actually hit, and then we're able to attempt the Dragon Lore. Now, this video does not make any financial sense whatsoever, but none of my videos really do. In total, I paid 5,000 euros for his old school forgotten about storage unit, and I had to add another $650 worth of my own fillers to try and attempt all of the trade-ups. And if I've done my math correctly, these 405 items will be mixed with a different 400 items, meaning that 800 items with 10 skins in each will be condensed down to 80 items. And from those 80 items, with a 50-50% odds probability, we will get 40 industrials. With those 40 usable industrials and the 121 industrials already sent to me, that makes 160 items. Divide that by 10 because of the trade ups, which is 16 items, and then half that for the probability should be 8 mil-specs. He's already sent me 7 mil-specs, so that's 15 mil-specs total. 3 in each contract means average of about 5 contracts. Probability wise, only 2 or maybe 3, if we're lucky, of those contracts are gonna hit, which means we'll get an additional 3 restricted items. So managed to hit that with some industrials. And the very final consumer contract we have to do, it hits. We did about 81 contracts, and of the 50-50s that hit, 41 of them were cobblestone. Statistically, pretty much exactly where we should be. Now we have slightly over 200 industrials, which means 20 trade-up contracts, and statistically, about 10 mil-specs. First, industrial, 50 goods. And that's chuck it in a 10.
I believe that
Contract remains.
right person to do this trade up.
Hear you. Yeah, 6.
But don't be mad if it fails.
I will. I'll be like, I want my 5,000 euros back. I'm gonna put a few other possibilities in here, just because if they hit, I'll be like less depressed than if it was a Scout Blood in the Water.
You get a pretty bad luck with this skin.
I do. Maybe I should just not put in any Arm Steel 2s whatsoever in here, so we like guaranteed don't see the Blood in the Water. It's probably a good idea. Okay, 5 items in, which means the night. Here it is. It's time. It goes in. It goes in. Slot number 6. You don't know how nervous I am right now, dude.
Are you nervous?
Very, very nervous.
I'm twice as nervous.
This was your idea. This was your birth child. This is what you dreamt of and saved for years for. So let's make it happen.
Honestly, I couldn't do it. It's too much money. I'm shaking as well.
To be fair, I think I'm shaking a little bit too. This is it. The Dragon Lore Challenge. The 10%. Can we come in clutch?
I hope so.
I don't know, dude. I don't want to press this button. I want to remove this night and sell it and get my 3 grand back. It's for the content, right? And it's for your dream. Both of them ticked off at the same time. You got to chase your dreams.
That's true.
I mean, everything that isn't the D-Lore in this contract is just pretty bad.
It's all or nothing.
Exactly. Everything's huge loss.
I think that the M4A1S is pretty nice skin.
It is.
Since it's a new skin, it has some value in it, I think.
I mean, yeah, there are worse outcomes. But I think the second best, the runner-up, would probably be the Orb CMYK. You know, I wouldn't be happy with it, but I wouldn't like cry as much as I would the Victoria.
After all, it's an op.
Exactly. I think the moment has come.
I'm closing my eyes.
It's time to close my eyes too. But I feel like I should give you the honor doing the countdown for me.
I don't want to do that at all.
I need you to do it for me. This is a team effort. This is a joint effort. This was your dream. Take it away.
5, 4, 3, 2,
1.
1, go!
Dragon Law!
Dealer! Dealer!
Oh! Have you opened your eyes?
Should I? I don't want to see it. Oh no.
Yeah. It's not quite the Dragon Law that we were hoping for. Didn't come through, but hey, we tried, right? We tried.
For just a 10%.
Really, dude? Is the first one good or not?
Kilometers above sea level and can be seen from over 300 kilometers away.
Oh, wow.
Equivalent to seeing New York City from Boston.
Oh my god.
It's a well-known fact that the first person to reach the summit of Everest was Sir Edmund Hillary in 1953. It's one of those pieces of trivia that gets thrown around so much that you just stop.
Dude, with the amount of technology we have these days and shit like that, the fact these guys did it, fucking, I had to look at the time. Fucking, how much is that? 71 years ago? That's ridiculous.
53. It's one of those pieces of trivia that gets thrown around so much that you just stop questioning it. It seems like something that should be indisputable. The first man to set foot atop the tallest mountain. An unambiguous statement of fact. Except,
Wow.
29 years before Edmund Hillary reached the top of Everest, there's a small chance, but a chance nonetheless, that someone else may have got there first.
Oh, but they died.
The Western world first laid eyes on Everest in the middle of the 19th century, but it wasn't until 1921 when they first set foot on it. That year, the British Royal Geographic Society financed the first expedition to explore Everest and identify a route to the top. A leading member of the expedition was 34-year-old George Mallory, considered to be one of the most skilled climbers in Britain. Just 5 years prior, Mallory was fighting in the Battle of the Somme, where over the span of 5 months, the young men of Europe suffered more than 1.6 million casualties.
Jesus.
In 1922, Mallory was about to enter one of the few places on Earth that was even more inhospitable. For millennia, civilizations around the world have considered the highest mountains to be sacred grounds. Anyone who dared to climb them would be trespassing in the realm of gods. About to enter one over the span of 5 months, the young men of Europe suffered more than 1.6 million casualties.
Jesus.
In 1922, Mallory was about to enter one of the few places on Earth that was even more inhospitable. For millennia, civilizations around the world have considered the highest mountains to be sacred grounds. Anyone who dared to climb them would be trespassing in the realm of gods. No matter how superstitious you are, you can't deny that there are some places on Earth that human beings were never designed to go. Atop mountains like Everest, the terrain is so precarious that one misstep can result in a fatal fall. For most of the year, the summit is blasted with hurricane-force
fuck
winds,
this shit.
enough to blow any climber clear off the mountain. Any practical attempts to reach the summit have to be conducted in roughly a 10-day window before the annual monsoon season, when wind speeds are relatively calm. Usually this window opens towards the end of May, but even then, temperatures at the top of Everest struggle to break 0 degrees, cold enough to cause frostbite on exposed skin in minutes. The frigid temperature.
Hold on, that doesn't seem too bad. Oh, I mean, that's without the wind indicator.
Cold enough to cause frostbite on exposed skin in minutes.
Yeah, it's because that is without the wind.
The frigid temperatures force climbers to seek shelter by nightfall, but even the welcome warmth of the sun presents its own challenges during the day. Ultraviolet radiation becomes much more potent at high altitudes. Combined with highly reflective snow, people on Everest are at constant risk of snow blindness and other debilitating eye problems. Even during optimal weather, conditions can change in an instant. Climbers can venture onto the Everest slopes on a clear day and suddenly find themselves stranded in blizzard conditions with nowhere to hide.
But wind is
As
what
if
makes
that
it
wasn't
way
bad enough,
worse.
the roving threat of an avalanche can wipe out an entire team of climbers in a matter of seconds. However, in spite of all the deadly hazards that await climbers at the top of Everest, The single most life-threatening factor has to do with what isn't there.
That's insane. In 5 minutes? Holy shit, bruh.
The single most life-threatening factor has to do with what isn't there. At 29,000 feet, air pressure is 3 times lower than at sea level, meaning that climbers have access to only 1/3 as much oxygen. Mount Everest is one of 14 summits that extends above the 8,000 meter mark, otherwise known as the death zone. Beyond this altitude, the human body no longer has enough oxygen to sustain itself, and within several hours, vital systems will begin to shut down. Climbers who enter this range are no longer flirting with death. They are literally in the process of dying. If anyone in the death zone fails to descend back to a safe altitude in time, their chances of survival are 0. The death zone presents an extreme complication by making anyone...
The reason why I say annoying is that I think there's a lot of things that are like cool, let's say, to do whatever. Like in life, it just sucks that the body is just not good enough. It's one of those things that like you just can't, like physiologically. I find that annoying.
Run towards the Everest summit a crucially time-sensitive event.
That's what I'm
Climbers
saying.
must maintain
like
a certain pace on the final
it's like
ascent, or else
it's like not
risk
being
running
able
out
to
of
dunk
oxygen.
because you're not tall enough.
To make matters even more difficult, the thin atmosphere makes the act of climbing painstakingly slow. Most climbers near the summit have to stop to catch their breath after each individual step. The process is so exhaustive that summiters are expected to burn more than 15,000 calories, equivalent to the daily energy output of 7 people. The peak of Mount Everest is in contention for the single most hazardous place on the surface of the Earth. And 99 years ago, George Mallory was one of 6 climbers trying to get there. On May 19, 1922, Mallory led Howard Somerville, Edward Norton, and Henry Morshead on the first official attempt to reach the Everest summit. Across 3 days, the team trekked up the north side of the mountain, eventually reaching a record altitude of 8,225 meters before turning back. On May 24th, George Finch and Jeffrey Bruce set off on another attempt, this time making use of supplemental oxygen. On the 27th, Finch reached a new altitude record of 8,326 meters. Immediately, Mallory was eager to make his own attempt with oxygen, believing that it was his ticket to making history. While many of the exhausted climbers were hesitant to make a third attempt, Mallory's fascination with Everest had begun to turn into an obsession. On June 3rd, he convinced several climbers to follow him on a hastily improvised trek to the summit. They were joined by 14 Sherpa porters who were assisting in hauling equipment to the higher camps.
That's fucking insane.
The expedition was now running far too late.
No, I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck, brother. These guys are way more hardcore than these motherfuckers. Brother, they don't got the funds and the fucking and the whatever to do it. If somebody were to do it, it'd been one of these motherfuckers, 100%.
To the higher camps. The expedition was now running far too late,
Look at that in skinny
and the
jeans,
monsoon
bro.
had begun dumping fresh snow on the Everest slopes. On June 7th, Mallory's party triggered an avalanche that buried 7 porters alive. The disaster would mark the immediate end of the expedition. Mallory was criticized by his peers for his recklessness, as his sudden mania for the summit had led to a severe lapse in judgment. After the failure of 1922, he would have to wait 2 more years until his next chance to conquer Everest. In the spring of 1924, the British expedition crew were back in the Himalayas. Mallory, Bruce, Norton, and Somerville had returned from the previous mission, this time being joined by newcomers Noel Odell and Sandy Irvin. Mallory was now 37, and reconciled that this expedition would likely be his last shot at reaching the world's highest peak. The May of 1924 featured historically poor weather conditions at Everest. Not wanting a repeat of the 1922 disaster, the group decided to overrule Mallory's original plan and attempt the summit without oxygen. The change frustrated Mallory, who now viewed oxygen as a necessity to reach the summit. On June 1st, Mallory and Bruce began their journey up the North Ridge.
Guys, I don't think they had the technology or whatever, to know that their organs were dying because they didn't have enough oxygen. I would assume they had enough oxygen to feel like they're doing something, but the body's suffering, yeah?
Less than a day, the pair disappointingly aborted their attempt after poor weather forced them to retreat. On June 2nd, Norton and Somerville began their attempt, this time finding themselves in ideal weather as they marched higher up the mountain. By June 4th, the pair had made it all the way up to the Great Couloir before exhaustion and respiratory problems forced the pair had made it all the way up to the Great Couloir.
Nada. Ay.
Couloir before exhaustion and respiratory problems forced them to turn around. Edward Norton reached a new altitude record of 8,570 meters, just 280 meters beneath the summit. Mallory was originally scheduled to make one last attempt with experienced climber Noel Odell, but after the failed first attempt, Mallory decided to call an audible. Instead of Odell, Mallory would make his final run to the summit alongside the 22-year-old novice Sandy Irvin, who happened to be the most skilled oxygen technician among the expedition crew. Based on this attribute, it's clear what Mallory had in mind. On June 6th, Mallory and Irvin began their ascent, each bringing with them as much oxygen as they could afford to carry. The pair were trailed by Odell, who was taking photos about 1,000 meters farther down the slope. On the evening of the 7th, Mallory wrote a final correspondence to Odell before the run to the summit, saying to look out for he and Irvin near the summit skyline the next day. On the morning of June 8th, Odell eagerly waited for visual confirmation of the climbers, but Everest Peak for the moment was obscured by mist.
Oh,
Then
please.
at 12:50 p.m. there was a sudden break in the cloud cover, allowing Odell to clearly see the summit. There, Odell witnessed two black dots scaling one of the rock steps on the northeast ridge, with one dot appearing to climb up and over the crest, just below the final summit pyramid. After 5 minutes, the mist rolled back in, and the two figures disappeared behind the clouds. This small fleeting moment would be the last time that George Mallory and Sandy Irvin were ever seen alive.
Nah, they made
Shortly
it.
after the sighting, a storm hit the mountain, and the
Jack-
two climbers
No way. This guy had got too much hardship, too much failures. He definitely, 100%.
the extreme cold near the Everest summit. Bodies stranded atop the mountain don't decompose, allowing them to essentially remain frozen in time. In 1975, Chinese climber Wang Hongbao reported spotting a body at an altitude of 8,100 meters. Judging by their clothes, the remains must have belonged to a climber from an old British expedition. 24 years later, several researchers organized a search to locate the deceased climber. It was on that expedition that Conrad Anker discovered a corpse about 300 meters beneath the site of the lost ice pick. Lying there, face down in the snow, was the body of George Mallory.
Jesus.
Mallory's remains showed evidence of 3 key injuries. He suffered a broken leg, a puncture wound in the skull, and bruising from a rope around his waist. The bruising indicated that Mallory and Irvin were likely roped together when one of them fell, snapping the rope and separating the duo. Mallory's injuries were not severe enough to indicate a steep fall. He may have experienced a minor stumble at the ice axe location, after which he descended further down the slope where he suffered a second, fatal fall. Several of Mallory's possessions were recovered from the scene, which revealed additional clues to the summit question. His climbing goggles were found stowed away in a pocket, indicating that he was likely operating in low visibility. Mallory was probably descending after the sun had set or during storm conditions. One of his pockets concealed a note with a list of 5 oxygen cylinders, providing evidence that the climbers had brought one extra cylinder than previously thought. In fact, the same search mission actually recovered one of these cylinders, an artifact which marked the highest confirmed point that Mallory and Irvin reached. Rumored to be among Mallory's possessions was a photo of his wife which he planned to place at the summit. The photo was not found on Mallory's body, sparking further speculation to a successful attempt. But beyond speculation, no evidence could be found that conclusively proved whether he did or did not reach the summit.
Yeah, well, I mean, they didn't
Many
make it.
researchers hoped that finding George Mallory would finally provide a solution to mountaineering's greatest mystery, but it may have only created more questions than answers. Today, nearly 100 years after the tragedy, climbing experts are still split on the fate of Mallory and Irvin. Seasoned veterans like Conrad Anker and Graham Hoyland are of the opinion that they did not make it, reasoning that the duo simply had too many factors working against them. Other researchers are more optimistic. Philip Summers notes an inconsistency in the number of sleeping bags accounted for on the 1924 expedition, and suggests that Mallory and Irvin may have carried 2 of them on their summit attempt, possibly as a means of attempting a bivouac to buy them more time. Michael Tracy offers a solution to the second step problem by suggesting that the climbers bypassed the obstacle entirely by using the North Ridge Traverse, which was the standard route at the time. Tracy presents a comprehensive explanation for how the pair could have followed this route while using a system of oxygen caching to reach the summit before sundown. In this case, Odell would have actually spotted the climbers at the 3rd step, which would be far more consistent with the supposed 5-minute climb. There are various other creative theories regarding Mallory and Irvin, but until further evidence surfaces, a definitive conclusion may never be reached. Fortunately, the mystery is not yet a hopeless cause, as the answer to the summit question may lie among the still undiscovered remains of Sandy Irvin. It's highly likely that if either of the 2 climbers reached the summit, they would have collected rock samples. The rocks found atop Everest are geologically unique to that part of the mountain. If Irvin were to be found with summit rocks, it would prove that one of the climbers had made it to the top of Everest.
Oh, that makes sense, actually.
Curiously, the 1999 forensic search of Mallory's body neglected to check for summit rocks, so it remains unclear whether Mallory had any enduring dollars and a few weeks to spare can reach the top of the tallest mountain in the world.
Which is no achievement,
what used
really.
to be considered the most astounding achievement in human exploration has since been relegated to a neat trophy to brag about at a cocktail party. It's somewhat disheartening to see how even a place as mystifying as Everest eventually found a way to be commodified and commercialized. These days, it seems that there are hardly any frontiers left to explore. As of now, the greatest discoveries reside not in...
I would assume that climbers are responsible enough to understand that the climb has lost its essence from what it was to what it is. And if they want to climb it for what it is now, sure, but don't be mistaken about the distinction.
Mountains, but in mysteries. We may never know for sure what happened to Mallory and Irvin, but pretty much all of us can be confident about one thing. No one would prefer if they had failed. It's a shame that history only tends...
If I don't climb, life seems empty. I suppose the problem is in the end, it's addictive. And for some people it's a fatal addiction.
K2, a mountain of rock, ice, storm, and abyss. It makes no attempt to sound human. It is atoms and stars. It has the nakedness of the world before the first man, or of the cindered planet after the last. Those were the words of the now passed Fosco Marini, who argued this while recalling his ascent of K3, a mountain 600 meters short of K2. Fosco did not climb K2, but simply the aura and the thought of such a mountain had inspired him to say such high things about it. But don't get me wrong, K2 is not inspiration. It's a reminder that when humans try to trek in places we are not designed to go to, disaster is bound to strike. And for the people who fell to disaster in this video, there was never hope in being saved, because the Savage Mountain in K2 is not inspiration. It's a reminder that when humans try to trek in places we are not designed to go to, disaster is bound to strike. And for the people who fell, a mountain that was about to claim its first victims. It was July 1939. Fritz Weisner was getting ready for his expedition to K2, a mountain that was previously monitored the year before to find a route to climb. Fritz Weisner was known as a legendary climber, someone that was claimed by many at the time to be the greatest climber in America. And after assembling a group of mostly rookies after being denied by the most qualified pros, they set off for K2. The 6 team members were Tony Cromwell, Dudley Wolf, Jack Durrance, Fritz Weisner, George Sheldon, Chapel Cranmer, and George Trench, as well as 9 Sherpas, which are people that are native to mountainous areas that have extended knowledge and skills for climbing mountains. Sherpas are very valuable to explorers of the region, and they serve as guides and people that will help you at the extreme altitudes of the peaks and passes in the region. Now, after deciding on the Abruzzi route to climb the mountain, they set sail. The Abruzzi route is the easiest and most practical way to climb K2. It consists of the safest and most physically viable route. But there's one problem with the Abruzzi route that determines the fate of most climbers. It's the section near the top of the mountain called the bottleneck. The bottleneck is a narrow vertical crevice which is overhung by a column of glacial ice. It is located only 400 meters below the summit, and climbers have to traverse about 100 meters exposed to hanging glacial ice to pass it. And as I mentioned, the unstable nature of K2 calls for lots of heavy falling blocks of solid ice all the time. So with this in mind, most expeditions from now on would follow the Abruzzi Spur. And after getting to K2, the team was in very high spirits and started climbing up the almost 9 base camps up the mountain. Weisner instantly saw himself as the lead and began as a lead climber and organizational leader pretty much the entire time. Up until base camp 4, this was not a problem. But the distance between Weisner and the rest of the group continued to farthen as the rest of the group could not keep up, and no one down below seemed to be able to be in charge of coordination. Even the better climbers such as Cranmer were seriously ill, and the other great climber Durrance was significantly hindered due to not having proper boots. As they approached Camp 4, the climb got harder. Between Camp 4 and 6, the Abruzzi Ridge begins to sharpen and steepen with high risk of rockfall, and unfortunately, in K2's nature, it is very exposed to heavy storms. And unfortunately for Weisner's team, they were hit directly off the bat with a big snowstorm near Camp 4. With no progress being made in the -3-degree storm, Cromwell and Sheldon had to be sent down for injuries. Things were looking very grim at this point. However, Weisner and the Sherpas had made significant progress tying rope higher up and pulling the rest of the group above multiple cliffs, landing the group all the way up near the base camp of the Black Tower. The others were astonished by the progress higher up on the mountain. They had worried that the team would not work at all, but they were very excited to see the progress of the others still going strong. But at this point, there was a serious organizational problem. Weisner, Wolf, and Pisang Lama, one of the elite Sherpas, were up at 7,700 meters getting ready for the bottleneck, believing that the others were sending supplies up to the high camps to support them. But down at the lower camps, it's not clear that they understood or really grasped the situation. But even with the lack of confidence in having supplies, Weisner, Wolf, and Pisang Lama trekked forward confident of success. The weather was perfect, but it seemed Wolf was having troubles, and it was clear he could go on no further. So he descended to the nearest base camp 8 to wait as support. Weisner and Pisang Lama reached a point of decision. They had reached the bottleneck. They had to decide between traversing the bottleneck and be exposed to the falling ice, or to take an alternate rocky climb that would ultimately be safer with the current conditions. But a climb that Pisang Lama would have a very high difficulty doing. Weisner ultimately decided on the rock climb, and they climbed rocks at an unprecedented difficulty for 9 hours straight trekking for the summit. It was now almost sunset on the top of K2, and Weisner and Pisang Lama were only 240 meters away from the summit. They were so close. But there was one problem. Pisang refused to keep going. Weisner had insisted that he wanted to travel through the night to reach the summit, but Pisang refused to do so and would refuse to dish out the rope, assuming it was too dangerous. Because if they had summited now, not only would they be in a bad spot on the mountain in an area hard to climb back down at, they would be doing so in the middle of the night. Pisang knew how dangerous this would be, and it would likely end in both of them getting seriously hurt or killed. So he advocated not to summit. Being so close, it was a decision of pride versus safety, and ultimately, Weisner decided not to question his skilled Sherpa friend, because the mountain is not a matter of pride and ego. It's a matter of skill and trust. That day, Weisner and Pisang were a hand's reach from making history. But due to the nature of the Savage Mountain K2, a hand's reach would be the difference between summiting and not. Ultimately, they climbed back down to base camp exhausted beyond belief, and Weisner regretting his decision not to go through with it himself. However, when they arrived to base camp 9, no supplies were given to the two climbers after their long trek. Nobody had cooperated at all, so they rested down at base camp 9, then set off for the summit again next morning, only to get stuck again and head back down to base camp 9 again. But still, even after that, for whatever reason at all, supplies seemed to have not been ferried up to base camp 9. Nobody was cooperating at all. None of the lower camps had done anything. Say Tendrup, one of the lower camp Sherpas, was convinced that everybody above had died. He saw avalanches, harsh weather conditions, and without careful regulation, he rashly decided that they have all perished to the conditions. And back at Camp 7, Say Tendrup persuaded the other Sherpas that everybody above had died. So, they decided to descend, leaving Wisner, Pasang Lama, and Wolf at the summit by themselves, with no supplies. And they also thought it would be helpful to clear Camps 7 and 6 as they went. Finally, Wisner and Pasang had descended down after 2 failed attempts at the summit, and to their absolute horror, they found Wolf, who had been sitting at the base camp all alone this entire time without any supplies since the others had never sent supplies up. He had ran out of matches and he had no way of cooking food or even drinking water. And Wisner was furious and couldn't understand where the reinforcements were or where they went. So they had no choice, they had to keep climbing down. So all 3 men went down to Camp 7. But on the way down, Wolf moved so clumsily that he had a serious fall when roped, almost sending all 3 of them down. This resulted in injuries around the waist for Pasang Lama and the loss of Wolf's sleeping bag. Finally reaching base camp 7 at dusk, they were met with yet again another shock. Not only were there no supplies, but the tents had collapsed under the snow. There were no mattresses and only 1 sleeping bag, and the food was scattered around. Luckily, there was a stove and fuel, but that was it. They had to descend even further. They had no option. But Wolf was not looking good. He was looking horrible. He moved clumsily, he needed rest, and he was out of it. So Wisner made the unfathomable decision to leave Wolf at Base Camp 7 and retrieve him later once they had supplies, thinking that Base Camp 6 would have supplies he could help him with. Wisner later said that he agreed to leave Wolf in camp at Wolf's own request, because the weather was good and Wolf had managed alone before. It is possible that after such a long time at high altitude, either or both men were not thinking clearly. Wisner and Pasang descended to more shock, finding no food and no supplies at every camp on the way down, until they finally reached base camp, exhausted, unable to walk, and injured beyond belief. With no supplies for Wolf, Wisner was furious, accusing the others for attempted murder, threatening to sue them. Then Cromwell was appalled, and in turn accused Wisner of abandoning Wolf. Cromwell and Wisner became enemies for life. But this did not excuse the fact that one man was left up at Base Camp 7, still 7,500 meters into the sky, all alone, with no supplies, little warmth, and little hope. So thus, this began the 3 rescue attempts for Wolf. Rescue attempt number 1 started with Wisner hoping for another summit attempt after saving Wolf. This was an absurd idea, and all the other team members were strictly going up to save Wolf. Jack Durance's party of Sherpa and Pasang Lama managed to make a trek to Camp 4. After this, Jack and the already exhausted Pasang Lama had to return back to base camp on strict orders, where all but 2 Sherpas had the strength to continue up the mountain and make it to Camp 6 to rest for a while. With Wolf at Camp 7, they were very close, but rescue attempt number 2 started with extra support leaving base camp. Some elite Sherpa Pasang Kikulu and Sering Norbu left base camp and climbed an incredible 2,100 meters all the way to Camp 6 in one day, a feat that wouldn't be achieved again for decades. Nonetheless, the Sherpa were very close to Wolf, and in the same day, Kikulu and Kitar and Finzu, the other Sherpa that had trekked to Camp 4, had luckily reached the isolated Wolf. But to everyone's surprise, Wolf was entirely apathetic, completely uninterested and showing a complete lack of concern for the situation. Wolf had been covered in his own feces and urine from being trapped in his tent waiting for multiple days for a rescue attempt. Without water and warm food for almost a week, Wolf was completely uninterested in the letters that they brought to him. And to everyone's surprise, Wolf refused to climb down the mountain, telling the Sherpa to return the next day when he was ready to go down the mountain. So the Sherpa left, but the Sherpa were stormbound in their tents with no hope of climbing back up to Wolf for almost 2 days. So after 2 days after being stuck, the Sherpa attempted the rescue for Wolf again, and trekked back up to the 7th camp on the mountain, leaving Sering Norbu behind as support. But unfortunately, this would be the last time that Dudley Wolf, Pasang Kikulu, Pasang Kitar, and Finzu were ever seen alive again. Norbu, the last Sherpa left at Camp 6, would wait a few days before descending the mountain to relay the information of all men being gone. But Wisner had thought that the Sherpa men were very capable. He was certain that they didn't perish only at Camp 7. But at this point, no one in the team had any level of physical capability left, and certainly not enough to trek all the way up to Camp 7 from the base anymore. Everybody was exhausted, but nonetheless they attempted a 3rd rescue, in which they had made it to Camp 2 where a storm would blow in and last an entire week straight, where they would be completely blocked in on the mountain. And after a week of no information, Wolf and the 3 Sherpa rescuers were all dead, atop the mountain of K2 forever. To this day, it is a complete mystery as to what happened to Wolf and the three rescuers. Perhaps they were caught in a snowstorm or a nasty avalanche. Maybe it was a simple matter of slipping and falling. Who knows? But nonetheless, one thing is very normal would be the last thing K2 is capable of. In 1986, the government of Pakistan
Government of Judaistan. Judaistan or Judaistan. Yes, I'm gonna lie.
Let's roll.
तूने कब देखा भाई मेरा फोटो?
लगाओ भाई, टेस्ट तो हो चुका है भाई। अबे यार,
अरे ये चुतिया कौन है भाई? क्या क्यों आता है ये चुतिया? क्यों?
Let's roll.
खूनी टट्टी।
Grenade out.
ये राउंड शुरू होते ही बॉम्ब स्पॉट हो गया था बी के बाद। अबे
दूसरा कोई दे दो यार। लोग आने तक अच्छी लोग भी मिल जाए यार, ये तो वैसे भी आने वाले।
Let's roll.
वार्निंग वार्निंग वार्निंग। क्या लॉबी है रे, क्या लॉबी है रे। लॉबी लाले 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 लाले। मेरा चैन वैन सब उजड़ा, धनक धनक धन धन धन, ओ जालिम नजर हटा ले, धनक धनक धन धन धन। ओ मेरा चैन वैन सब उजड़ा, जालिम नजर हटा ले, जुदाई हो रही है जी, जुदाई हो रही है जी के घर के वाले। माशूदी क्या बोल रहा हूँ मैं भाई, जल्दी कर रे। बड़ा क्या वल्ली टल्ली पाजी वाजी के साथ खेलने लग गया है क्या चुपचाप टोकन के भाव क्या हो गए बैजिस के भाव क्या हो गए भाई बड़े कम डिमांड में क्या चल रही है फिनिक्स हाउल सिविल प्रोटेक्शन अच्छी एंड शुदी क्या भाव बढ़िया जन तो बहुत पहले आएगा ना मेरी अंगड़ाई ना टूटे तू आजा कजरा रे कदला ले दिल ताले ताले नैना तेरे ताले ताले तेरे ताले ताले
Let's roll.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. Wow. बाहर मैडम लंबा तेरी जान की समझे समझे लंबा तू रोरी वारी और क्या लेगा रे अलबेले टांगे वाले
Let's roll.
LSD ऐसा ओपन में नहीं बताते थे सबको
क्या ओपन में बताते
के पास लंदन में
भाई कब बोला तेरे को
ये तो बोला
भाई कब बोला है
लंडा करके वो दूसरी बात है तू पीछे भूल गया नहीं है करके लिखना अरे एक बार है ना ये चुतिए लोग सामने आए थे ये सॉरी इन लोग भेंचोद ऐसा ऐसा टाई कर दिया इन लोग का भुसड़ा हो गया
ये बजिंगा को इसके साथ खेला है शायद ओपोनेंट में टट्टी किधर गया रे
गाँव नंबर इसकी गाँव नंबर
कहाँ पीके टट्टी नहीं दिख रहा है
दोपहर में
हाँ
कर रहा है क्या अभी भी
पता नहीं मैं उस टाइम काम कर रहा था कर ही रहा है वो पर एक्सेप्ट ही नहीं कर रहा
बच्चा है रे वो अभी भी उम्र से बड़ा हो गया है दिमाग से नहीं हुआ अभी तक
उसे सदमा पहुंचा है हैकरों ने इतना मारा उसे रोज रात हैकरों से पिट के उसने हैकर बन गया
बोलता रहेगा ये मेरी गाना मार रहे थे अब मैं इनकी मारूंगा
पर उसे वो नहीं आता फेक करना वो दीवार पे ही देखता है
अरे
उसको पता नहीं असल वो कभी करा नहीं ना सीधा
हैक एक बार किया ना अगर तेरे को नहीं मंडी
सिंपल गेम वही रखो बस
एक्सपीरियंस नहीं है ना उसको करने का तरीका नहीं है
अरे वो छोड़े क्या है पता है सीन तू कर रहा है ना हैक अगर तेरे को विजुअल में दिख रहा है तो तेरे को भी पता है तेरा माउस उधर जाने ही वाला है उस स्क्रीन पे दिखता है
वाला बंदा होता है ना जो वो अपना एम वहीं रखता है अब तुम एंगल पे बिल्कुल चिपका के रख रहे हो मतलब हैकर हो बंदा थोड़ा बहुत दूर रखता है
उसने टट्टी दीवार के थ्रू पूरा देख रहा है क्रॉसर कहाँ जा रहा है कहाँ जा रहा है वैसा थोड़ी करते हैं
बट कोल्ट बरोबर पकड़ाया पूरा एल्बम बना के
अरे मैंने पकड़ लिया था तो 2-3 मिनट तक बोला नहीं, फिर कह रहा नहीं कहाँ है।
AFK लग रहा है, देख करना।
नाइट कर देता ना।
फर्स्ट वाले को हवा में मार दिया, उसने कूद रहा था।
और सामने मर के कैसा लग रहा था? अरे इन लोग कितने लोग खेल रहे थे। इसका फिर कौन था? ओजी बिल्लू सांडा था, फिर और कौन था? आदित्य था। ये लोग खेल रहे थे। बोलते में मैसेज में
और सड़े एल्टी होंगे।
नहीं AFK लग रहा है दूसरा।
मैंने शॉट गन उठाया। लाने परी
याद आयु के टोपा
के इज फीमेल और फीमेल
के होमो।
वो सब जानते के सॉन्ग्स मजा आता है।
उसका बाप भी होमो, उसका दादा भी होमो, उसका चाचा भी होमो खानदान से।
जबरदस्त। आखिरी देगा।
टॉप मिड बैठा है के भाई।
के तो सच में के गाने सुनता है या बस नाम ही ऐसा रख दिया?
खैनी कुमार खैनी खाता है बेंचो।
दोनों नीचे गिर गई।
जब ऐसा कर रहा है तो पिस्टल लेने का।
भाई के नाम एस के रख दिया अपना।
लेके ऑफ ले।
चल जल्दी मर। चल टोपा दे।
Grenade out.
शॉट है।
टॉप पे राइट साइड है। हमारा
दो ही बंदे थे।
अरे क्यों ऑफ क्यों फेंका ये?
चलते वाह आया। लो है, देख लो है। बदे नेट डालेगा तो भी मरेगा।
नेट ही नहीं है मेरे को। निकालने जा रहा था।
ऊपर ही है, इधर ही ऊपर है। हाँ बोला नहीं, 1 HP का था। साइड है, सामने देख, इधर ही लग रहा है। वे रुक रहा क्यों? जाना आगे, वैसे मारेगा वो पिछले के। बढ़िया कटने वाला था।
जैसे कि तुम मार देता ना भोसड़ी के।
बीच में मत बन तो जल्दी खेलना गांडू, इतना स्लो खेल रहा है।
down smoke.
फिंगर थोड़ी
Laying
खेल
down
रहा है तू
smoke. Throwing a grenade.
वन टैप मार आ रहा है.
Smoke. Throwing flashbang.
टॉप में डे आए इधर ऊपर बैठ इधर आ अरे लव
इसने मेरा
मार राइट में
दो लोग घुस
भाई
गए.
तेरा आँख बहुत स्लो रिएक्ट करता है
हेड लगा.
लॉन्ग एक कार गया एक सीटी है नीचे नीचे
नीचे नीचे
सीटी
नीचे.
गया एक आओ बेटा किधर था
बदीर लॉन्ग जा.
रश कर रहा मैं.
Go, go, go. Incendiary. Grenade out. Grenade. Deploying
गाड़ी कर रहा है इधर जैसा.
grenade.
टॉप मिड है.
Throwing smoke.
लॉन्ग है एक
Throwing flashbang.
शॉट एक
कौन था मेरे पीछे के
शॉट एक ये आ गए रे भोसड़ी वाला तुम लंड
लास्ट लॉन्ग.
लॉन्ग
सामने काट अबे.
Counter-terrorists win. Right on.
केस कटने वाला था.
Gear up. We're going in. Laying down smoke. Grenade out. Flashbang.
अरे एल्टीट्यूड भेड़ का लौड़ा लौड़े तुम लोग क्या देख रहे हो मेरे पे मेरा लौड़ा दिख रहा है मेरे पे पहले से
Deploying flashbang.
अरे गांडू इधर इतनी
अरे
आवाज.
लौड़े लोग
Flashbang.
Xbox है.
बॉम्ब ड्रॉप. LT.
Throwing flashbang.
LT.
कहाँ ना मार रहे लौड़े मरेगा ये भोसड़ी के जाएगा
LT.
LSD सीधा किक हो जाएगा
अबे लॉन्ग जा रहा हूँ मैं लॉन्ग जा रहा हूँ.
LSD का वोट डाल दो
दोनों यूटी. एक डबल डोर्स गया.
तू इधर पी के दे के रख और थोड़ा ओपन बैठना वो कूदेगा फिर जीजी हो जाएगा बी रख बी देख
Counter-terrorists win. Easy peasy lemon squeezy.
एक ही बीच में आ गया. इस बार मर रहा था मैं.
तो कोई भी वाले मार दिया. एम के ही था भाई.
Smoke. Throwing a grenade.
One shot, 2 kill.
Incendiary. Throwing smoke. Incendiary out.
एलटी चेक करना एक
Bomb ले लेना.
Flashbang.
Bomb लो. Bomb ले कैसे?
All right.
Bomb लेना. Tablet है.
वेट करते हो भाई. एक्सी ऑफ दे.
Move it, son. Smoke. Grenade out.
और चलो
शॉट आएगा.
Top mid down.
Throwing flashbang. Throwing smoke. Throwing fire. Flashbang. Throwing a grenade.
बी तो देख रहे हैं पर्पल घुसड़ी के.
नहीं रे इधर ये लग रहे हैं.
Deploying flashbang. There's no stopping us.
शोध.
Move it. Move it. Incendiary.
सुसाइड एक है.
Grenade.
अंदर है लॉन्ग के अंदर एक है.
Throwing fire. Deploying flashbang. Throwing flashbang. Laying down smoke. Flashbang. Throwing fire. Deploying flashbang.
एक shot है.
Incendiary out.
अरे लौड़े.
Doors के पीछे है.
एलएसडी पूरा कैंप कर रहा है बैठ के.
LT क्या? भी जाएगा.
नहीं है रे इधर. तू भी हैक करने लगा क्या एलएसडी?
नहीं रे.
मैं मदर
मैं चूतिया जैसा थोड़ी हूँ मैं जो हैक करने.
नहीं भोसड़ी के ऐसा लग रहा है लौड़े. तू तेरे को भी चेक करना पड़ेगा.
इसने दिया पीके.
चेक कर ले. पीसी पूरा.
पीसी क्या लौड़े तेरा यही देखना पड़ेगा.
भाई इसने दिया है. इसने पीके को दिया.
एनी डेक्स से देख ले.
लौड़ा से.
अरे बहुत दूर था रे
यार. अरे पता चल गया रे.
पता चल गया ना. और क्या.
Counter terrorists win. You're right on. You're right on.
खेलना आता है नहीं बेचो. देख ले के बढ़िया थे.
चूतिया बुला है क्या तू. 1.5 लाख का पीसी है मेरे पास. चिंदी 500 रुपए का
मेरे पास
लाल
3 लाख का पीसी है.
10 साल का एक्सपीरियंस है गेम में. टट्टी
लौड़ा टट्टी.
अबे यार एलएसडी को तुझे लपेट दोबारा है.
हर हैकर यही बोलता है.
हर हैकर यही बोलता है. नहीं तुम लोग गांडू है.
Grenade out. Throwing a grenade.
आपको गांडू मत दे दो. आप गांडू.
Incendiary. Incendiary out. Throwing flashbang.
फ्लैश कैसा था ये. वो बोल पहले.
मैं हुआ था.
परफेक्ट फ्लैशिंग बोल.
Grenade. Counter terrorists win. Nice.
परफेक्ट फ्लैशिंग का मैं नहीं हुआ.
अबे मैंने क्या किया मालूम. सुनना
पीके ने डिफेंड ही नहीं करा.
बधीर
बोला.
मैंने ग्राफिक कार्ड खोल दिया सीधा. मैंने वारंटी में था. स्टिल मैंने खोल दिया.
है ना
खोल के
वारंटी में
पेस्ट
रहता
लगा
है,
दिया
अंदर से
मैंने।
नहीं खोल।
नहीं पूरा खोल दिया मैंने। अपना सर्विस सेंटर
बस बेस चेंज करने के लिए खोल सकता है, पूरा नहीं खोल सकते।
नहीं मैंने क्या करा, सर्विस सेंटर लेके गए तो उसने छू दिया, बोला 15 दिन और वो रिप्लेसमेंट नहीं करेगा, वही लगा के देगा। तो खोल दिया मैंने।
तो हो गया सही।
और अरे शॉट है, शॉट है, एक शॉट है, तो मैंने खुद खोल के लगा दिया। उधर ही है, सेव कर ले, छोड़ क्या फाइट ले रहा है, भाग जा, सेव कर ले, अंडे लॉन्ग भाग।
ये लौड़े
बोलो लास्ट राउंड है क्या?
हाँ
नहीं देखा
मारने का था रे,
सही तो मार रहा था।
तू देख ही नहीं रहा है बेंचन मिड लौड़े मिड से आ गया भोसड़ी के।
हाँ तो मिड पे देख रहा था, स्मोक देख,
अरे क्या घंटा देख रहा था,
स्मोक तो देख, 3 फ्लैश आए मेरे पे, एक नेड
तो
आया।
मैंने खोल के सीधा पेस्ट लगा दिया, जबरदस्त
हाँ
पेस्ट,
पेस्ट
700 वाला
हो सकता है।
700 वाला।
तूने
नहीं
पूरा
पूरा
नहीं
पूरा पूरा ट्राई हो गया था अंदर, पूरा ट्राई हो गया था, पेस्ट ही नहीं था इसलिए ओवरहीट ज़्यादा हो रहा था।
3 बंदे भी।
और ऊपर से मैंने क्या किया, सीधा 27 इंच वाला मॉनिटर ले गया।
37
में खेल रहा 27 तो
भाई।
2K पे खेल रहा हूँ मैं अभी, इसलिए पूरा क्लियर
ठीक है।
दिख रहा है मेरे को।
लॉन्ग से चुदा ना,
लॉन्ग में 2 है।
लो यार
और एक और एक और एक मत ले, फाइट मत ले।
मैंने उसको डैमेज तो दिया, एक गोली डीवल कर। हां
क्या सेक्सी लगा ना।
इसको कितना दिया मैं बेंचो? 40
कितना भी दिया होता भाई, हेड दिया मैंने।
सुना है तब जाके मेरा गेम थोड़ा बहुत फिक्स हुआ
सर मेरी पेज चेंज करना है
इसलिए, वरना पहले मैं ये अकाउंट से खेलता था।
मेरा फैन ही नहीं चल रहा,
नहीं खेलता था मैं ज्यादा तो।
मेरा फैन खराब हो गया, क्या करूं इसका, नया लगाना पड़ेगा ना।
ग्राफिक कार्ड का
नहीं नॉर्मल जो उसमें रहता है।
हाँ नॉर्मल वाला लगा के भाई करके। हेलो फैन दिखते, वो लगा जबरदस्त दिखते।
फैन घुमाऊंगा तो चल जाएगा।
नॉर्मल होना है तो 500 में मिल जाएगा तेरे को।
ओलेक्स उठाऊंगा।
हाँ इससे अच्छा तू कैबिनेट उठा लेना, वो मिल जाता है।
लियान ली का कैबिनेट ले ले मेरा वाला, मस्त।
इसका
लियान ली
कितने का
है? 12-15 का है।
12-17 हजार का।
अरे
इतने में ना मैं खोल के चला लूंगा।
मत ले
एक पानी की बोतल
तेरा
है, उसमें डाल के
ग्राफिक
चला
कार्ड
लूंगा।
कितना है तेरा? ग्राफिक कार्ड कितना है?
3070
3070 है। अच्छा रख लेके क्या
भाई बेस्ट ग्राफिक कार्ड है, बेस्ट ग्राफिक कार्ड है 30।
वही बोलो।
अरे कोई भी ट्रिपल ए गेम चला लेता है बेंच पे 37, कोई भी विदाउट मेरे को मार।
1.5 साल पहले 20,000 का लाया था मैंने।
कितने में? 30,000?
20
ये ग्राफिक कार्ड?
हाँ ओलेक्स से लेके आया था दिल्ली से एक बंदे से। उसने अपना रूम इतना सेक्सी कर रखा था ना।
अंडर वारंटी था क्या?
नहीं कंडीशन ओलेक्स से 3 मतलब 1660 लेके आया था 5,000 रुपये। 1660 Ti दोस्त के लिए लेके आया।
माइनिंग के लिए
नहीं नॉर्मल
माइनिंग वाले सस्ते में मिल जाते लेकिन
नहीं
माइनिंग वाले
नहीं था ये
नहीं लेना माइनिंग वाला बिल्कुल नहीं लेना
बिल्कुल नहीं लेना मैं जो जिसके
पूरा
कैबिनेट में
गेम
लगा हुआ था
एक्सपीरियंस पूरा लैग होगा गेम एक्सपीरियंस पूरा लैग होगा तेरा
कैबिनेट में देख के लाता हूँ कि कैबिनेट में यूज हो रहा है ना एक और बड़ा है वो बंदा 9000 से नीचे नहीं दे रहा था मैंने
मिड पे भाई क्या देख रहा है लेसी तेरे पीछे से आया
साइड पे ए साइड पे
मार इसको मार वापस आ गया मन
नहीं देखेगा
जा तो सही आगे
वो वेट कर रहा है
क्या हो क्या वेट
छोटा रहा देख
क्लास
भाग जा मंडी भाग जा सेव कर ले
Terrorists win. You will not die. We have got it.
छूती है भाई यार जो भी नया यार सरप्राइब कर लो यार जरा ना बाबू लोग
मैं आते रहता हूँ, कभी कभी कुछ नहीं आता। अरे मैं तो रोज खेलता हूँ, लेकिन ये अकाउंट से नहीं खेल रहा था मोस्टली। वो दूसरा एक ब्रैक्सी नाम का अकाउंट से बनाया मैंने 2 महीने वाला, तो उससे खेल ले रहा हूँ कभी कभार। और मोस्टली दिन भर नहीं खेल रहा हूँ, ओनली रात को ही खेल रहा हूँ, वो भी 7 बजे से 12 बजे तक ही। अरे भाई पहले क्या था 24 था। वैसा भी कैजुअल पूरा बंद हो गया आजकल, कॉम्पी चल रहा है सिर्फ। मेरा भी पहले यही सोचता, लेकिन कॉम्पी में बहुत सारे हैकर्स आते हैं एक लेवल के बाद। इसलिए तो मैंने क्या करा, टाइम पास के लिए दूसरा अकाउंट बना लिया, इसको छोड़ दिया, मैं ज़्यादा यूज नहीं कर रहा हूँ। प्लांट कर बदीर। छक्के
दीपक
कहीं डिकोय भी नहीं दिख रहा है, तू भी नहीं दिख रहा था, लेट आता है वो। साथ में नहीं खेल के 2 महीने के ऊपर हो गए शायद ना।
LSD वो तेरे को पिक करके गेम भेजा है ना, भेंचो डाउनलोड करो।
खरीदना पड़ता है उसको।
अरे हाँ, बट वो इस पे AM11 तेरे को फ्री में मिल जाएगा।
किसमें?
AM11
एक डोनट, 2 डोनट 2।
पीछे के
एक सिटी शायद मैं तेरे को भेजा, शायद एस्ट्रो ब्रैक्सी नाम से रिक्वेस्ट, तूने फेक वो स्कैम अकाउंट समझ के रिजेक्ट किया होगा। ब्रैक्सी करके क्या? हाँ मैं सबको भेज दिया था जब तभी बनाई तभी। एक करो एक डोनट है, एक मिड है, रेड रूम भागा मिड
मारना इसको, चूदे सिलोड़ा। ऊपर है बी चलो रे सब, बी चलो। तो भिंचो इधर स्मोक करने से ना शॉर्टकट रन दे दिमाग का भुसड़ा हो जाता है.
Let's bring some pain. Flashbang out. Molotov planted. Throwing bomb. Grenade.
B में देख.
Terrorists win.
पैसा मरा है देख. लाश एकदम जीसस हो गए. क्रॉस एकदम देख.
We will make them regret the smoking.
फ्लैश कर रहा.
I throw the flashbang. Throwing flashbang. Flashbang. Molotov.
एक मिनट में रेड रूम.
Throwing fire.
आ जाए एक बार.
ये आना.
मेन
भिंचो ये.
अरे बम
सुधा दिया. जाओ तुम लोग उधर से. मैं पीछे से आ रहा हूँ.
ले कोई नहीं है. जा.
Throwing the flashbang. Terrorists win. We will dance on your graves.
ऐसा बोलेगा तो तभी जाएगा ना तू. वरना नहीं लेगा. उधर ही खड़ेगा.
We must win. Deploying smoke shield.
बदीर फ्लैश. सुनना एस्ट्रो सुन.
Flashbang.
पीके नहीं है. पीके डाउन. हैक करना चालू किया.
Flashbang out.
पीके हैक कर रहा है.
तू भी कर रहा है.
हाँ सक्के सबको बोल गांडू.
कर रहा है तो बोलेगा. हाँ भी खाली जल्दी आओ भाई लोग. पीको लेके दिए आओ. माँ मत चिल्लाओ. अभी लड़की नहीं है ना कोई इधर. हाँ ये चुके.
Activating the bomb. Bomb has been planted.
करना पड़ेगा.
सिटी का साउंड है. ए पर भागा.
ये स्पीक देना. जाना आगे. राइट में देख. हाँ आएगा इधर. कट किल.
सुना है एस्ट्रो पीके हैक कर रहा है. डेमो कर रहा है. डेमो पकड़ेगा. सब गेम में कर रहा है. सीधा हमारे साथ दीवार के थ्रू ट्रेस कर रहा है. क्या है.
I'm throwing fire.
डोनट है.
पता नहीं मेरे को अपना मेरा ग्रीन क्या कर रहा है भोसड़ी का. Seriously, I have no idea.
ग्रीन इसको कुछ बोल. हल्का देख बधी तू. आया 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 आया. आगा.
हाय रे. चूतिया लोग को मत बुलाए खाते लौड़े खेलने को.
चूतिया गंगा रैंडम बंदा है रे गांडू.
गांडू रंडा में लौड़ा किक भी नहीं.
ग्रीन हेलो ग्रीन हेलो ग्रीन. नो माइक.
फूल इसको लौड़ा है क्या? मारा दे क्या लौड़े हो?
Flashbang. Throwing smoke. Throwing a flashbang.
दो है और दो बी पे और दो है.
अरे ग्रीन तेरी
चलो,
माँ का
चलो,
बछड़ा
चलो।
चलना.
सिटी से डोनट से रोटेट करो रे. डोनट से रोटेट करो. डोनट बनो. रेड रूम रेड रूम रेड रूम. बीजा बीजा एक बी पे. एक ही है ए पे. हाँ क्लियर है पूरा क्लियर है.
जा प्लांट दे.
पीछे देख पीछे.
इधर बैठ उधर बैठ. नहीं तो
अरे
ऊपर जा.
उसको क्यों
पीछे
बोल
से
रहा
आ.
है तू खेलना.
पीछे से आ. पीछे से आ रहा है.
Terrorists win. Yes, yes, yes.
देखा मेरे को पता था वो मेरे पीछे ही है. थोड़ा दिन.
हाँ तेरे को पता है रे.
हाँ
सब
रे.
पता है सब दिखता है तेरे को.
सब दिखता है मेरे को. मैं जीपीएस हूँ. मैं नहीं सुना तो जोरो नाम नहीं सुना है क्या अभी तक? हाँ यार. मालूम है जीपीएस कौन
मुक्का मार रहा है बड़वा. एक केव
गया के उसको आगे वालों को देख.
सिटी सिटी लेफ्ट. काट काट जल्दी काट. सिटी है लास्ट सिटी.
लास्ट इधर है बी पे इधर.
हाँ वही बी साइड सिटी वाला.
Terrorists win.
हमारे पर वगैरह आ रही है इनके पास. क्या बोल रहा है एक्चुअली? डोनट है. पुश कर रहा हूँ.
Throwing a Molotov. Throwing flashbang. Throwing a grenade. Flashbang out.
ए ब्लू. ए भोसड़ छुत मरी है. वो बैठता ब्रो. You see, you got one tap, bro. You have to be little low. You know?
भाई इसको हिंदी भी आती होगी. 32 पीएंगे इंडिया नहीं है बड़ा हुआ।
चोदीना मेरे को लगा तू मेरे को मार रहा था, मेरे को मार भी नहीं सकता। अंदर है अंदर है।
के फॉरवर्ड है।
अरे मैक्सी की मम्मी सेक्सी।
उसको तेरा ही पसंद है, तेरे तरफ देख रहा है। ये आजा।
अरे मेरे भरोसे मत बैठा कर।